Hey, Shaka Bras, welcome to the Fireside. My name is Jake. Super excited to bring you this episode with Andre Malcolm today. It was pretty cool. He was tattooing through the entire episode. That's the first time that I can remember. Maybe that's happened before, but it's very rare. Anyways, I reached out to Andre originally because I was introduced to this process that he has, this large format printer, where he's printing full back stencils or full torso stencils, like 24 inches wide by as long as you need to print it. And if you do large scale tattooing and stenciling, you know all of our cutting and pasting and taping and what a hassle it is. So I had to learn a little bit more about that. And I'm glad I reached out because we ended up talking about way more than just stencils and that particular stencil process. We talked about his background. He came from a very artisan type family, a lot of craftspeople. His early life as a graffiti writer, his apprenticing and learning to tattoo in the Bronx, making the move out west to California, all kinds of stuff. So if you're specifically interested in the stencil stuff, we end up talking about that we start talking about stenciling around 21 minute mark of the episode. And then we get into the actual large format printer and the stuff that he's doing with inkjet stencils around the 26 minute mark. I don't know, you'll have to play around, but don't do that. Just watch and listen to the entire thing. There is a little bit of distortion that I did a pretty good job getting out. We're still getting used to this like virtual podcast life, which I guess is our future now, but we're getting better at it. Look, see, this is my new podcast setup. It looks clean, right? That's a 4K camera right there. Enough about that. Before we start, I do want to thank our sponsor for today, TSM Pro. Thank you for making today's episode possible. If you're not familiar with TSM Pro, don't worry about it. I wasn't either until just recently, but I've gotten to know these guys, Taylor Chapman, Alec Bauer. Alec is a tattooer, Taylor's a software guy, and they're really focused on simplifying tattooers' lives, making their lives easier, especially on the admin, marketing, client relation kind of side where we can really focus more on drawing pictures and making good tattoos. So they do several things really, really well, but I'm just going to focus on one. I'm going to pick one today, and I'll give you another one in the next episode. So you know how if you go to, say, a business page on Facebook, and you're going to reach out and try to contact them, Facebook will say this business typically replies in 1 hour or 1 day or 1 week. If you go to the Fireside page, which I have not done, it probably says like, good luck. No chance you're going to hear from these guys. And that's not good because people reach out that way. That's how people communicate with businesses. So let me give you a scenario of what TSM Pro can do to help you if someone reaches out through Messenger or maybe reaches out on your website. They use an AI, an artificial intelligence, kind of I hate the term bot, but like a chat bot. And I know you've used some of these chat bots before, you've interacted with them, and you probably hate them. This one is super cool. It's really, really natural. So I'll give you a scenario. Someone reaches out to your Facebook Messenger or your website at 8:30 in the morning and asks if you have any walk-in time today. So your AI can look back at your calendar for the day and say, yeah, actually we have 2 artists that are available today. One is after 3, one is after 5. Here's a link to their portfolio. Do you need directions to the shop? Or maybe it would say, sorry, we're all booked up today, but here's a link to all of our artist portfolios and a link to our pre-consultation form. If you want to get that filled out, then someone will reach out to you later today. And it can talk back and forth. It's not just simple answers, and it's completely customizable. Taylor can help you walk you through all this stuff. Anyways, it's super cool. They do a lot besides that. We'll get into it next time because I want to get into this episode. Click the link in the description below to learn more about TSM Pro. And the promo code Fireside, by the way, will get you a hefty discount. In fact, if you click that link, it just pre-fills the promo code. You don't even have to type Fireside because the chances of you spelling Fireside correctly pretty slim. Because is it one word? Is it 2 words? Nobody knows. Enjoy the episode, and thanks as always for supporting the Fireside Tattoo Network.
All right, Andre Malcolm, hard at work. Let's man, we can see just a little bit of what you're working on right now. Kind of is most of what you're doing kind of Japanese influenced. I know it's mostly large scale. What's kind of your background, drawing background, and tattoo background, I guess.
So I started out drawing when I was a little kid. My uncle, he was, at the time I was a lot younger, he was studying to do art. He was going to art school. And so was my aunt. My aunt was already in art school. But I never saw any, I don't remember seeing any of her works until I went to go live with her when I was a little kid. But my uncle was the one that really taught, like, he's the one that like sparked that flame to do art. He showed me how to do a stick figure, and that was it. I said I still remember. I remember the feeling of this like burning sensation in my brain when I saw him do that, little circle and little stick down the middle, and then the two arms and the two legs, and then I wanted to just do that all the time, Then I went to go live with my two aunts, and my aunt was an art teacher. They're both teachers, so scholastics is a big thing in my family. I'm just the one. I guess I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that just dropped out of school and said I wanted to be an artist, and that was it. And then, let's just fast forward a couple of years. I was always still drawing, and then got into graffiti in New York. I was living in the Bronx at the time, and with graffiti, you always have to have your black book with you, because you never know who you're gonna meet. Some people might be painting and stuff like that. And in the Bronx, that was like a hub for graffiti around the world.
By black book, you mean just portfolio? You would just carry your work around with you in case.
Yeah, like a little drawing book.
Yeah,
like a drawing book. Like one of those. Not the Moleskine, but the other company was just like a black book with the white, regular white pages. And one lucky day, I said, let me just bring my book with me. And that day I saw Cess 1, Yes 2, and Med TVT from and they all three of those guys worked at Tough City Tattoos in the Bronx. And that was it. I just started hanging out with those guys. I asked them to do something in my book, and it just went from there. I didn't even know what I was getting myself into, just hanging out in a tattoo shop like that. Seeing like half naked people, people just with their shirts off, like walking around, just to show off their tattoos. It was crazy. They just wanted to show off their tattoos because at that time in like the 90s, it was such a new thing in New York. Like they just legalized it in 95, but Med was already tattooing way before that. And if you had a tattoo shop, you were like kind of like mob-related. You were mob-related. It was more Italians ran that. Well, you were Jewish. You were probably like a Jewish mob, Yeah. So it was like two crime families, two crime kind of things. It was the Jewish mob and the Italian mob. I came to find out that later on, like just through tattoo education. Med had all these old school like outlaw biker books, like the magazines. And that was my art education. That was my tattoo education. I read all those magazines. Every magazine that he had, he didn't have every issue, but I was just reading about all that stuff. I was like really intrigued about that. Come close to me. And that's what I learned growing up. Like if you're gonna get into something, you have to basically educate yourself. If you don't feel like you're getting all the education, you just kind of have to go out there and look for it. Yeah. And then there was like certain magazine stores in New York. They would sell like back issues in like a stack, and I would buy them. And so it would be like outlaw biker, tattoo magazine, and
was International Tattoo out at that time? That was the one that I thought really changed things. I thought the level of tattooing in International Tattoo magazine back then really. I was seeing more large scale stuff in that one. I can't remember when it came along, but. Yeah. Like
when they said international, they were really international about it. That's when I first saw the Lose.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I first saw Mick's work. And that's like when I first saw like Horiyoshi's work.
Right.
And just different issues, and I was very intrigued by it, but I wasn't at the same time too. I was still in the graffiti stages of my tattoo career in like those like early years, like in the 90s. But I wasn't tattooing at the time. I was just hanging out in the shop. But then one day, like my mom went on vacation and left me $100, and I was already hanging out with those guys at Tough City, and they took me down to this tattoo supply spot. Unimax. And that was it. I took that $100. I bought like a bullshit Joe Capper machine. You know, I had it in this nice little box, and it just seemed so mystical to me. Like, whoa, what the fuck? I got a machine now, you know? Yeah. No tubes. Yeah, and that was it. And
so were you apprenticing at this shop that you were hanging out at, or you were just hanging out and getting to know or getting familiar with tattooing and just went and bought a machine completely on your own?
I just hung out there. There was no apprenticeship. I don't think they ever apprenticed anybody at Tough City. I don't know anybody that got up. It was more like you watch. And then you have to figure it out, which is kind of like one of the hardest things to fucking do, right? You know?
Yeah.
But I remember one guy, his name was Omar. He just hooked the machine up for me. And I tattooed one of my friend's best friends. This kid Mike, and I did love and kanji on his forearm. And I posted on my Instagram one time, like, this is the first tattoo I ever did. I just remember that anxiety and shit, like the sweat coming off my forehead and the crazy tunnel vision and the muscles tightening up and just, like, what the fuck?
Right. And
I remember putting the stencil on, and I did the first line and the wiped away, and I was like, oh shit! And it was just this faint silhouette, this faint like line. And I remember just drawing all the time. And you know, you with drawing on pencil and paper, you kind of build up like different. You just figure out different line pressures. So I was like, oh, let me just try and scratch it in, like sketch it really and like real lightly with the needle. And I did that. And then I just filled it in with black instinctively.
Right. And this was done at your, like, just at someone's house? No guidance, no one watching you do what they were doing?
At the shop. With
no it was at the shop. Okay.
No supervision at all. And dude, it took like an hour and a half to do.
Right.
Something now that would take me like probably like 5 to 10 minutes to do. It took me, hour and a half, sweating bullets, losing my shit. Like all these type of thoughts are going through my head. Don't fuck up, make the lines clean. And you know, at that time, I wasn't even tracing anything. I wasn't even drawing anything traditionally in tattooing. I just was kind of using my own artistic preference or whatever, which didn't even apply to tattooing at the time. It was just, you know, like when you would doodle in a sketchbook and think you were like an artist. And then so this manager that worked there, he picked up some girl from the club and promised her a tattoo. So I did it. He talked me into doing it. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't familiar with the back of the neck.
Oh, that was your second tattoo, back of the neck?
Dude, I did a pothole in the back of her neck.
Okay.
And I said, fuck this. I'm not tattooing her. I'm not hanging out of the shop anymore. I just ruined this girl's neck.
Fast forward a little bit. How did you end up in California? And then when did you start to make the transition to what the kind of work that you're doing now to large scale? And maybe we can get a little bit into your approach of when you're designing large scale pieces.
Okay. So I moved out here in 2010 with my ex-wife. When we separated, I was already working at Stone Sword, but when I started like doing larger stuff, I decided to start doing Japanese stuff when I was at Tough City. But I didn't have any formal training in it. I didn't understand the formula, how to like really use a simple shape first and then build on that simple shape. And I think the only thing I was like really good at doing, somewhat freehand, a little bit of stenciling, a little bit of drawing, was sleeves, you know? And then I went to get tattooed at New York Adorn because New York Adorn was probably like the only shop really that you heard of like all these different international tattooers going there to get tattooed. And get tattooed and even do tattoos and do guest spots. And at that time, I was a real big fan of Chris O'Donnell. And he was the guy that you would go to other than like the Japanese men that worked in New York, Shinji Okaz. And, you know, there was like Chris O'Donnell, Troy Denning, Mike Rubendahl. And I couldn't get an appointment with Chris. but Yoni Z was there. And Yoni Z, I figured, oh, this is Yoni Z. He has a tattoo by Philip Lou. And I was like, oh, he must know a lot of cool shit because, you know, at that time I heard that Philip was like really good at exchanging information. Mm-hmm. And then when he showed me his back, I was like, it really made me want to do, other than that interview that Mickey did, or I think it might have Jonathan Shaw, either it was Jonathan Shaw or Mickey. No, it was Jonathan Shaw did an interview of the Lose. I mean, that put me on the path of doing like, I want to do Japanese style stuff. I was
do you remember what that? Do you remember what that tattoo was on his back? What Philip did on his back?
It's like this. It's like a Tibetan. It's just some Phillips shit. It was like two big eyes and these like tusk kind of horns and this mouth at the bottom. It's in the Lou book. It's in the Philip Lou book that just came out. And at that time, like I saw how his gray work looked in magazines, but to see it in person, how smooth it was, I was like, I gotta get like this guy. I want my stuff to look like this. And then when I was getting tattooed by Yoni, Troy Denny was there. He was still working at New York Adorn at the time. And he wanted to look at my work. He's like, hey, next time you come here, bring your portfolio and see your stuff. And I was like, all right, cool, no problem. And I showed him my work and he was like somewhat, he was kind of impressed. I was too scared, you know, I was so scared to show him my work, but you know, like, because it was like, you know, this like unwritten rule in Tough City, like you can't work anywhere else, you know? You can't work anywhere else in New York. And if you do, it's like you gotta leave New York, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand that, you know, like competition and shit, right? And you're gonna, you know, whatever. And that's just how it is. Well, no, you can't leave New York. You gotta leave the Bronx. You can't work in the Bronx. Work anywhere else, but you can't work in the Bronx. And I was like, yeah, no, you know, whatever. But I wasn't trying to leave Tough City at the time. This was starting, you know, I was getting big headed because I started doing better and better tattoos, you know, month by month, or probably year by year, or it might have been month by month. And I felt like I was getting good and I wanted to learn more. And I just saw, you know, I remember meeting Adrian Lee at the time, and he was working on Suits Made to Fit.
Yeah.
I think he was working on Suits Made to Fit, and you know, he knew Meg through the graffiti scene. And you know, and that's when I met Taki for the first time. And then Adrian was one of the first people to look at my work and like kind of tell me what I needed to do.
And you were doing large scale stuff. By the time Adrian saw your work, you were already focusing on large scale work?
I was focusing on like forearm style stuff to like sleeves. Do you
remember any of the advice that he gave? Sorry to interrupt. Do you remember any of the advice that Adrian gave you at that point as you were making that transition?
It was kind of like things like I remember doing this Panther, and he was like, the leg looks like you should do like extend the leg and concentrate on like really heavier blacks and things like that, and understanding the usage of black. I kind of started applying that, you know, and I remember him talking about scales and just like I had. So one of the things after meeting Adrian, I was really into just getting books. So I remember going down to like Chinatown or like Kinakuya bookstore, and I went and I bought. I remember it's just like I don't think they make this book anymore, but it had like drawing scales for dragons and kois, and I started applying that. And I remember showing my portfolio after that to Troy Denny, and he was like, you know, he was showing me what this looks like, what was good and what was bad, and I like that. You know, it was like really good constructive criticism. And then he was like, hey, here's my number. Let's exchange numbers and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, cool. And then like 3 months later, he hit me up and he was like, hey, I'm gonna open up a shop. You wanna come work for me? And I was like, oh, so I'm gonna work for Troy. And he was doing bigger stuff. I'm gonna learn bigger stuff. I'm gonna learn how to just do big works, you know? And that was like my path. My path really started at Invisible and just working with Troy, working with Regino Gonzalez and Marco Serio and Kiku, especially Kiku and Regino. Those guys like really put the battery in my back. Because I'm from the Bronx. I'm not really thinking anything. I'm just like, I made it now. I felt like once I got to Invisible, I was like, I made it. I'm good. Right. But I didn't. You know, I didn't really fully understand the world yet. I didn't have any. I didn't meet that many tattooers outside of Tuff City and that graffiti community.
Yeah.
Then when I moved out here to California, it was rough. It was like lost all my things in the fire.
Oh wow.
And I had to start all over again.
Wait, you lost everything in the fire after the move out west?
Yeah, the moving truck caught on fire.
Oh no! What are the chances of that?
It was an insurance scam.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was an insurance scam, and I was already doing back pieces at the time after being at Invisible, watching how Regino Gonzalez drafted out a lot of back pieces and stuff like that and sleeves. It changed my perspective on like how the approach works like that. And then hanging around Yoni and he, before I worked at Invisible, it was slowly getting information from different places. This is something that a lot of people don't know. I found out, I did some weird stalking shit because I couldn't get any information, right? Mm-hmm. So after the tattooers at New York Dawn would leave, I would follow them to the bars that they went to. Mm. And I would ear hustle.
Ear hustle?
I would ear hustle what they were talking about.
Okay.
And there was like books coming out too at the time, like, those books that came out at the time, like one of my favorite books, Tattooing from A to Z.
Yeah. Yeah.
The like with coils and, the nickel thickness. So for a short stroke. And I remember that changed my fucking life. Like, turning the power up a little bit more and just making my lines way cleaner, Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo came out, and I remember seeing that Medusa marble piece that he did, that back piece, with those ivy leaves and shit. I was like, this shit is nuts, Marcus, only hearing about Marcus Pacheco like he was a unicorn or some shit,
Right. It's funny that A to Z book came with my first ever tattoo kit, came with a Mad Max, one machine. It was called the Mad Max. I wish I still had it. But yeah, I remember reading that back, front to back several times and trying to wrap my mind around it. Do you remember one that came out a little later, maybe around that time, that was called Tattoo Machines and Their Secrets? It was by like Godoy, Godoy is what I feel like the author was. Did you ever hear that one? It was a more in-depth, just kind of technical book on building machines. What's that?
Was it from the guy that made Time Machines?
Oh, Danny Fowler? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Maybe. I might.
There was a bunch of stuff that came out. Remember, I don't know if you remember Little Vinny's and so Med was cool with Little Vinny. And Jose that worked at Tuff City with me, he would call Aaron Kane sometimes. And Aaron King gave him a lot of advice, a lot of good advice. And I remember getting the machines from like Little Vinny, the ones that Aaron King, and some early Seth Safari machines. Like that time in those 2000s. And then you know what? This is something that helped me a lot. Med and Little Vinny were doing a tattoo project called The Original Tattoo TV. They did 3 different recordings. They did one on Paul Booth, the second one with Aaron Kane, and the third one was supposed to be with the guys at New School.
Okay.
And Aaron Kane changed my life. That dude, hands down, I think probably one of the best tattooers to ever come into this industry. And his approach, the way he drew stuff on, his bio is still sick to this day. And that's what I was looking at. There's nobody I could really look at that looked like me, but so I had to look at, the real, prominent guys at the time. And so let's fast forward. So now I'm in California, and I'm already doing back piece studies. I knew how to put a stencil together. That was from Tuff City, and I was already like writing stuff down on how to make a really really, really like efficient stencil.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working at Old Crow, and I remember they were going to do an art. They were doing an art show, and we had to do like a couple of paintings. So I did 10 paintings, and I was like, out of these 10, one person's going to get something out of it. It was a dream of a fisherman's wife. That was the one that this kid Jesse said he wanted to get, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And
so the painting was laid out to sell as a tattoo. It wasn't just a simple painting. It was a tattoo design that you hand painted.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I got
yeah.
you. I was thinking it was an art show, just like a separate from tattooing. I got you. Okay.
It was a painting, and he said you wanted it. I want that on my back, and I was like, okay, cool. And a week later, I did it, and so the way it was designed, I didn't take a tracing of his back like I do now, like my traditional process. I kind of just winged it, but it fit. It just fit, you know. But I was still trying to like figure out how to really get it right.
So what did you learn on that first large scale? I mean, but not mapping it out, you got lucky and it just fit. It just happened to fit right. Did you recognize that was a lucky break and that you needed to have a more defined process?
Yeah, and so I went to my mom for advice.
Yeah,
and she said you gotta measure their back out. You gotta measure people. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, how did your mom know that?
Because my mom can sew.
Ah, okay.
My mom can sew. So everybody in my family has some type of artisan background. My grandfather's a carpenter, and he taught all his 7 of his sons how to do carpentry. And real traditional West Indian family. And my aunts could, they can all of them can sew. Even my uncle can sew. Everybody had to learn some type of trade. And that was it. So my mom was like, you need to take measurements. So I just started taking measurements. And then there was like something else where like I would shrink it down to like a thumbnail and then blow it back up to that measurement.
You would shrink the drawing. Go through the process. So you would take the measurement of their back and then shrink that measurement down to a thumbnail, or you would actually.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's what I do for all my pieces, even to this day, even on the iPad.
Okay.
I don't take a picture of their back. I take a measurement. I take that measurement, shrink it down, draw within that thumbnail, and then blow everything right back up. So, and it's kind of like how comic book artists do it. Every comic book artist I know, that's what they do. They have a thumbnail that they work off of. And basically that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
So you're making a physical tracing, you're photographing that tracing, I guess, with your iPad or whatever, and then pulling it in and drawing the thumbnails digitally. Do you find yourself going through a certain number of thumbnails, or do you just do you still test a lot?
Yeah. So what I'll do is So I take that physical tracing of their back, and then I take it and in the copy machine I shrink down all the sides. I just go in a circle because that's what it's kind of like a weird warp circle. So I mark out in numbers all the way around. And I put it through the copy and I shrink it down to 25%.
Okay.
And then they'll give me a back piece tracing like that. And then I take that and I do a nice clean line drawing. It's a weird process, but that process really works for me. And then once I do that, I will scan it and throw it on my iPad. And then I'll draw and I'll take that design and I'll do like 4 or 5 different thumbnails. Quick, just a sketch. I don't refine anything. I want to get like a silhouette, and I pick the strongest silhouette, and I just build off of that silhouette now, and that's it. And I enlarge it each time I refine it, or each time I enlarge it, I refine it.
Do you do the final version on your on paper or on your or digitally?
I do it digital now, just because I have that large format printer now.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into next. But yeah,
I don't print it out and then put it in my copy machine because it's another, because it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour depending on what the subject matter is. But since I got that Epson printer and I use the inkjet die, everything now is just kind of draw on the iPad and then print it. Just draw and print on print, and it prints out in 3 minutes, and it cuts down, a whole 57 minutes.
Right.
Of putting a stencil together.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and dive into that if that's all right. That is the original reason that I reached out. I didn't know, like I mentioned, Gabe Rickley told me to go look at the photo that you had posted, the first one that you had posted of the full back kind of stencil off of that printer. And I didn't know, I assumed that it had come directly from inkjet stencils, like the printer and all, but that's something that you actually assembled. You brought the printer separately. You're using inkjet cartridges and came up with this on your own. That's right.
Yes.
What are you printing? What are you printing on?
So I got help from inkjet because the owner saw that I was doing a stencil one day early in the morning, and she hit me up and was like, well, I got inkjet stencil and I got these bigger sheets, individual sheets that can make a stencil fit that drawing, and you don't have to use so much paper.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, cool. And she said, yeah, we're coming up with a roll, and you might be able to print on that roll a whole back piece. And I was like, really? No fucking way.
Yeah.
And so I'm at my studio now, and it was sitting here for 2 months. And then a roll, and I was like, I wonder what kind of paper it could be you can use, but I didn't really understand paper like that. And then the owner was like, I wonder if that roll can work.
Where did the roll come from? It was a roll that you just happened to. It's not the roll of paper that she sent you.
Regular roll of tracing paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then but it didn't work. But I had another roll of tracing paper, but the core was a lot bigger and it could fit in that printer. And then we put it in the machine, because this printer, you can print on anything. You can print on fabric, you can print on leather. So I have this printer and I have another printer in my back studio. And that I use just to make these t-shirts, but they're print on demand. So I don't have to make a whole inventory of t-shirts. When somebody makes an order, I can just do a custom design, and it's just a one-off.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I've been into that. I just didn't like the aspect of I felt like all these manufacturers never really got it right. And I made a couple of t-shirts and they just never really fit the way I like and whatnot, So now just finding the right type of t-shirt. And so when she told me that you can print on any type of paper, I tried the roll when she wasn't here, but it didn't work because I didn't understand the paper setting. And then she showed me the right paper setting, and I was like, oh, shit, it worked. And then it actually printed it out.
Wow.
I actually printed a design that was big enough to be a back piece, and that's the first print right there. And that's what's hanging on the wall.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when it really started working, I just every tattooer I knew that just did large-scale back pieces, that I know they have to do a stencil the way traditionally how you did it. It just... It worked. So yeah, inkjet stencil, they're dope.
That's awesome. So the only thing that you actually got from inkjet out of this entire thing is the cartridge that fits that Epson printer. Is that right?
And the printer also. They gave me the printer.
Oh, okay. The printer came from them as well. All right. And was that
this is a gift? But they didn't know if it was going to work or not. They didn't know that roll was going to work. They're making their own paper. They're making their own kind of paper, and but they didn't have a roll yet. So. Okay.
Do you know if they have their own paper now, or is it still in?
Yeah, they do. They do. I think it should be on their website.
Have you used their paper, and is it much different than the tracing paper that you used at first?
It's a little bit different. It's a little thinner. So when it gets wet, it really clings. It forms to the body better. Okay. So it's almost like when you were using spirit paper.
Yeah. That was my biggest concern or question was, I'm thinking about, I do something similar and I make a map of the body with a big roll of tracing paper. And I think about just how I'm trying to wrap that roll around someone's arm and it crinkles so bad. I wondered if maybe their paper might form to the body a little better.
So what helps a lot with the stencil is I have a gel that I made with a friend. I made this gel. So any type of paper, it just sucks to the body.
Oh, really?
So you feel the paper like really clinging to you, like it'll be like something from Aliens.
Huh.
So I don't think you can really use, and this is something that I'm still working on, but try not to use too much of a liquid or something that's too wet, too liquidy. Okay. It has to be like a gel. It has to be a gel system for it to really cling to the body. When it's like too wet, the paper is gonna, the image on the paper is gonna like bleed a little bit. But with the gel, it's just a different base. That base system is what makes the water cling, and not the water, the image and the paper cling to the body. And then, so there's like there's one where I actually put it on the owner of inkjet on her back, those chrysanthemums. You can just see how the paper just like really is stuck to her back. So when I'm peeling it, she says I can feel it like pulling off like a really strong pull.
Are you just making that gel for yourself?
That's what I like about when making a stencil like that.
Yeah. Are you just making that gel for yourself, or is that something that you're planning to brand and sell?
I was making it for myself. What inkjet didn't know, I was trying to make that my other printer print, but it was printing from a 12 by 19 sheet. But it can print any type of paper, But I couldn't find the 12 by 19 regular type of paper. And it's a specialty type of paper, and it was like super expensive. But I don't know, like I guess like the way the stars align, like that's the company I feel like is the most advanced when it comes to tattoo application.
Yeah.
When you were putting a stencil on, I really like the owners.
So they're based in California, I assume, since they're coming to your shop and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the owners, husband and wife, I guess they can go back and forth to the manufacturing and living here in California.
Gotcha. Do you know offhand, and I'll get, I know that stencil that I can kind of see in your mirror, or sorry, that printer that I can see through your mirror right there is the one that, it looks like it's the one that's on your Instagram page. I'm sure I can grab the information on that one. What is the other one that you're using to print shirts? Do you know what it's called?
I'm using, it's like image, I think is it Image Class?
Maybe I can get it. Yeah, maybe after this you could grab a photo or something of it. I'm curious to know about that. We're dealing with the same thing. We sell some merchandise through, but we use a third party retailer. We use Printful to fulfill all of our T-shirt and hat and all those types of orders. Only because I didn't want to have to inventory and pack stuff up, and let it sit. But if you can do one-offs, that's pretty cool. I've actually never heard of that.
Yeah, and then this printer too, the Absolute can do it also. It basically is a dye supplemented printer. So all you're doing right now is you can have one for tattooing and just one for another one for shirts. So you just buying. There's a company that makes a dye for it, and you just put the different color dyes in, and you buy the paper for it, and then you have to buy a heat press. So you just gotta get a large heat press, and then bam, you can make a T-shirt. So like just about everybody, what I like to do for my clients is I'll just make them a custom shirt. So it's like here's this, and whatever spend all this money to get this back, because I can just at least give them a T-shirt that's
Have you found that now that you're printing full back stencils, are you still cutting them down and laying them in multiple pieces? Or are you been successful?
It's just one sheet of paper.
Yeah.
You're just cutting off the excess paper around because it's 24 inches wide. So there's not a lot of people that are like 24 inches. And even the biggest person that's that big, it still fits perfectly on their back, because if it's 24 inches, it's going to wrap a certain amount, right? So if you make the image to be at the tip of that of the paper that you, so all it is on your iPad, you're going to make a custom sheet of paper that's 24 inches wide by whatever length their body is. John's, how old John?
That's it.
He's 6'2". So it's basically going to print to his inches or centimeters, you know, or whatever people use, millimeters. It'll print to that length because you're designing it on the iPad to print that length. Yeah. And it can print 150 feet of paper.
Right.
It just needs a design that's 150 feet, you know?
Yeah.
It's great because I think it's what will help tattooers to be a lot more creative. If you just want to just print art on it, it's great. You know, you can make your own banner. Everything is literally going to be in-house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really incredible. Yeah, I think what I was asking, I recognize that it prints the entire piece as one stencil. I was just asking as far as applying it. You know how sometimes when you're trying to apply, like the old way that we do it, where we tape all of our, we print all these 8.5 by 11 sheets and we cut them and we tape them all together to try to make one big stencil. Sometimes it ends up being kind of difficult to manage a really oversized stencil. It's like dropping and hitting their lower back as you're trying to line it up on their upper back. Do you end up cutting the big stencil up at all, or do you place it all as one?
I do it all at one. There's a video of me putting a stencil on my YouTube page. There's 2 different videos, but literally so my technique on doing a stencil like that is I start from the top, and once I have the shoulders and the mid back pressed on, I pull down to the middle of the back, and I hold my left or my right, the end of it, and so it never really touches. Gotcha. So if you just flip it and pull yourself back and push it to the body, it's not going to touch because you're going to use your left hand to kind of hold it once it's on there. The paper won't fall right away and touch the body. And when the paper is like flexible but still stiff, you don't really have to worry about that really happening, you know?
Yeah, I just think about how often, really just how I dread the first day of starting a new large piece, because I know, I say I start tattooing at noon each day and I try to wrap up by 6 or 6:30. And I'm just hoping that I can actually be tattooing by 1:30 or 1:45. You know what I mean? I'm like, I hope it doesn't take me 2 hours to get all these stencils made. Cut them all up.
It prints in 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complete game changer.
Literally. So now this is my station. Like, because I got to recharge this pen. This is my station now. Yeah. I cut down so much prep time. I think all the prep time is really just figuring out the needles that you're going to use and the drawing. I think that's about it. You're the printer now. You're not. I don't even feel like you even have to come to work that early. If because you probably would have come to work early just to get the stencil made. That's what I would do. I think I just come to work now, and I will literally. It's not even work. I don't really call tattooing work. Right. I come to the studio. I mop. I sweep. I mop. Then I print the stencil out. And it's already hanging on the wall, waiting for the client to come. And since the mathematical equation of the measurement, it's gonna fit. The butt crack and your back is gonna just be perfect. And then everything else is just gonna fall into place. And all you're doing is just, when you're putting the stencil on, you're gonna be cutting the sides of it. Right, and cut into the drawing, and then you're just gonna be attaching like little lines here and there, and it's just I feel like that's literally my process. For me to do a stencil and drawing takes about 45 minutes.
It's incredible.
So that time that you would make a stencil goes into actually putting the stencil on and drawing on them and fixing what didn't connect, and you're like literally ready to go.
What are you using, just for our viewers, when you're measuring the body? What are the landmarks that you're measuring? Are you using tops of the shoulders, shoulder blades, like top of the butt crack? What are the What are your main kind of landmarks?
The middle of the back, top of the back, and where your butt and your thigh meets, and the butt crack. So like once I get this done, once I trace out the back, once I get the butt crack lined out, everything else is fine. Because this is the most dynamic part of the body. I think it's the most dynamic part. But once you get that measurement down, and another thing too, my measurement never really falls right in this crease. Something happens, but the butt crack is like the main part. This is what you want to line up. Your back, upper back, and your butt crack has to line up. Once you got that, you're kind of good, and just kind of free form it, because the butt's always going to move. You know, people's weights fluctuate. If they come in a certain time of the day and they've already eaten, their weight is going to be different the day of the tattoo. So don't really overthink when you put the stencil on. It's going to go on, and then just for me, that's what I do. I don't really overthink to make the stencil go on perfect, because it never goes on perfect. I just need to get it on. I need the right areas to be on just right, and then I kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think that's where focusing on those large, simple shapes and how they follow the major shapes of the body really comes into play, right? Because it can be off however much.
Just make sure those major shapes are on.
Right.
Just make sure that you get it right then and there, and then after that, it's just, for me, it's smooth sailing.
What? How long have you been using battery power, and what machine is that you're using?
So I'm using the Flux, and I got this the day it came out.
Which one's the Flux? Who makes that? I forget.
The FK Iron?
FK Irons? Yeah.
When they came out, when they were like, oh, the machine's dropping today, I literally just spent I bought this one, and I bought first I bought the Cheyenne, and then the Cheyenne dropped first, and I think then I got the Flux.
Yeah. Or do you use them both, or do you mainly use the Flux?
I use them both, but I think I use the Flux more just because of the ergonomics, just the system of just the way the buttons and the battery layout. And I like the texture of the machine more.
Are you using it for lines, solid color, black and gray, everything?
I use it for everything.
Okay. Yeah. Are there adjustments into it? Can you change the hit or anything like that within it, or is it just the mechanism does what it does?
It just does what it does, really.
Yeah. I haven't moved to any of the built-in, the Flux or the Cheyenne. I've been using battery power, but I've been using just the cheap Amazon RCA batteries, and I've been plugging them into, to whatever machines I'm using. And I've been happy with them. I was a little hesitant at first when I saw those machines, because I thought, well, if that battery goes out, is the entire machine junk? But apparently the batteries are replaceable, huh? You can pop them out. Twist it off, and I bought a second one. One single battery is $1,000. Two batteries is $1,200. While you're up, do you mind just letting us get a look at the piece as it is? We can only see a small part of it. Do you mind taking your camera over and just letting us get a look?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
This is day 3.
Day 3. Good Lord.
Yeah. So we did his upper back from waist up, all the yellow. And then we had already done the yellow on the lower part of the tail, like a base coat of yellow, and then just putting all the greens on top of it. Kind of treating it like it's a watercolor painting,
Yeah. What needle configurations are you using to put in those big fields of yellow?
That was a Cheyenne 27.
27, yeah.
27 mag, and I used a hollow 15, and it's a hollow 15 and a 9, power 9.
Gotcha. What did you use the hollow 15 for? To sculpt and build up lines, or to fill?
Yeah, just like what I'm using right now, just coloring in like tight spots. Kind of gives it like a very loose look in areas that I need it to be loose.
Yeah. Man, well, it's looking fantastic. That's amazing. You're only 3 days in. You really got how long is the session? How long are you guys sitting for?
We do about 3 hours.
Wait a minute. You're 3 days at 3 hours each?
Yeah.
So you're only 9 out. There's no way that's 9 hours of tattooing.
Yeah. Plus the previous stuff, like all the color work.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All the color work. So all the yellow that you saw up top was Friday and Saturday, today Sunday. So now we're doing the green today.
Gotcha. Wow, man. You're really moving through. And that's, I think that's a testament to just focusing on those large, simple shapes too, and not trying to get too bogged down in any one area of detail, just making sure that your lights and darks are balanced. How do you approach, as far as the color work? Do you try to focus on contrasting muted versus very high chroma colors? Or do you find yourself using a lot of high chroma, bright color?
Not really. I think with Japanese work, you don't really have to go too bright. When you're looking at prints, I mean, I think what's some of the brighter colors? Yellow and red. So I base a lot of my stuff on prints and how things would look modern, So, some of the strongest paintings and prints are there. I don't try to go too muted. I'm in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm very much in the middle. I wanted to. I'm going for power. Some of the strongest back pieces I've ever seen, Japanese wise. But like from Hori Uno from like back in the 1940s, and he was doing stuff with early modern kind of shapes. Like he was doing. I have some pictures of stuff that. You see like Philip Blue's doing back in, or like Horiyoshi's doing, or like Tomo's doing, but Hori Uno was far ahead of his time. And I really kind of stick to that formula of like what Horiyoshi talks about in some of his interviews and what my eye likes. Like I try to be as low tech as possible.
Anything that you brought from your graffiti background that you felt like, are there any kind of commonalities between the style of work that you're doing now that came from your graffiti, or have you pretty well abandoned what you were doing at that point?
Yeah, I mean, like graffiti writers, they have to walk up to a wall and do a piece from a piece of paper on the wall. And I think that's it, like the scaling size and being efficient. And like very like repetitious work, like they could draw letters like 100 times. They could draw the letter A 1,000 different ways, So that's something that like I'll draw a flower, a peony, 100 different ways, And I think that's what I took from it, because you had to be somewhat a little fearless when you were approaching your work. You couldn't really second guess your stuff. All the writers that I knew of, they had a confidence about their stuff. It was like they weren't just trying to do letters, but they were trying to really figure out how to push their letters a certain way and have and make it look funky, make it look fun.
Yeah. And make it look like their own, huh? That's something that a lot of tattooers struggle with as well, is like how to find kind of your own unique voice or your own mark making. And that's something that has to be at the top of the mind of every graffiti writer, right? I mean, what you're doing needs to be recognizable very, very quickly if it's going by on a train or if someone's driving past an overpass or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's even color palette and using your letters, using your forms just right, so you're not, not overwhelming someone visually. Like I remember graffiti, and I do it with tattooing. I remember Seth was telling me, you got to look at graffiti like a good piece is something without any color. So let me just see, what would something look like just the line work? There's a lot of stuff where I just draw it, I just post the line work. I want to just. I'm going for power, I'm like, I want to attract a person that they don't understand what they're looking at, but they see something like, oh, his line work is really good, it's drawn well, I want to get that. Before I even put any color in it, the color is just an accent. color's just the accent. I think Ed Hardy said it, or it was Bob Roberts said it. You know, the color's just the accent. I'm coming from it from a very graphic standpoint. That's kind of like what I like. I like from comic books, like, you know, why is Mark Bagley's Spider-Man so awesome to look at, or Todd McFarlane or Eric Larson, all these comic book artists, because they tap into something that the understanding of what you're drawing, you know, like not trying to go too much of a color bomb, but this is different. This dragon is a big yellow dragon, right? And when I finish putting all the greens in, it's gonna stand out against the crystals because. But what are crystals? Crystals are really like it's a crystal. It's like transparent. So this dragon's gonna overpower it. It's creeping out of it. So I think about things like that. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's important to have a hierarchy in your mind of what you want the viewer to see, and then when you're focused on what that hierarchy actually is, you don't end up disrupting it by, you know, with unnecessary color, or with unnecessary complexity, or whatever else it is, right? I think with the style of tattooing that you're doing, I mean, it's important that it's readable from a very from a long ways away. You know, if it wasn't readable from 30 feet away, then it probably isn't successful.
Yeah, and that's something that I really like, that you could read something from across the street.
If someone did want to reach out, get tattooed, what's the process of working with you?
It's just my email, Andre Tattoos, Andre Malcolm Tattoo at gmail.com. Yeah, Andre Malcolm Tattoo at gmail.com. Yeah. And DM me on my Instagram and let me know what you're looking to get, and then, you know, it just goes from there. Really
cool. Awesome, man. Well, again, I really appreciate your time. I'm gonna shut this thing down and let you get back to work. But thanks, and thanks. Cool. What's it, John? Is that his name?
Yeah,
John. Thanks for letting us crash your tattoo session. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again for watching. Please be sure to like and comment and subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with all of the things that we are doing. If you would like to buy us a drink, please support us on Patreon. There's a button somewhere around here that allows you to do that. You can also visit our website and subscribe to our newsletter so you know where we're headed and what we're doing. And while you're there, please check out our merchandise page. Buy yourself a fancy new Fireside t-shirt. Thank you for supporting the Fireside Tattoo Network, and we'll see you on the next episode.